the next instalment of Charlie's tips on handling fame. I've been handling fame all my life, so I'd like to share some of my experiences with you. But I've been watching other famous people too, and I know how it's done. Everyone from Paul McCartney to, myself. Now Paul, I've got no advice for Paul. Now, he was an expert the instant he became famous. He's coded for fame, as I am, and this is why I can give advice. And there are all sorts of little tips. Let's say you're fairly famous, you're an influencer of some sort or something like that, Now, if you've ever been interesting at all in the public domain, you've said some dangerous things. It's impossible to be interesting unless you have been a bit dangerous. Occasionally, you can't make an omelette without cracking a few eggs, if you know what I mean. All right. Look, there are a few famous people that just go, just say boring stuff. And, they're famous with boring people, We must all love. Like Bishop Desmond Tutu, You've got to love. But even he said some controversial things. He was very interesting, he got into trouble because he was a good person, but he was also an interesting person, and he had real messages to get across, so he was occasionally dangerous. If you're an interesting, famous person, occasionally you will say dangerous things. Now, here's how to handle those moments within which, you've gotten yourself into trouble for being dangerous. You've said something bad. It's almost impossible to avoid if you're an influencer of some sort, and you can be influential by being a rapper, If you're a rapper, lots of rappers are fairly homophobic, I've heard. Compared to rock and rollers, that sounds like a big generalisation, but I've got it on good authority. Check it out yourself. How many gay rappers have made it big compared to gay rock and rollers? Well, I don't know any true rock and rollers who aren't gay. Not since Buddy Holly anyway. Look, yes, there's been a few, but a lot of them, they bat, from the Paddington end as well, don't they? Half of them, even the tough ones. All right, and even if they don't, they've got a rock and roll sensibility. Rock and roll is very accepting of LGBTQIA+, for example. Extremely accommodating of all of that, whereas rap isn't. All right, so it doesn't matter what sort of famous person you are, even if you're more than one of them. All right. So, here's what you do if you get yourself into trouble. Little tips from Charlie, who's been there, done that. I've been famous before my shed days. Let's say you've got yourself into trouble. I don't know what you've said. All right, let's say you are a rapper. Well, let's say you're a white bloke, like me. You could be a white rapper. But let's say you're a white bloke like me. Let's say you're a damned, white supremacist like me, because I am. I'm a Nazi. I'm a closet Nazi. I love, and imagine, I just let it slip. And I said something racist, which normally I do only in private. I let it slip and I get caught. All right, here's what you do if you're famous. Get on to social media for a start. Get yourself a social media account. And and there will be a backlash, because you're famous, So Charlie's famous, and sit there and just wait, and say something a little bit controversial. Yeah, as a follow-up to this very bad thing that you let slip in the public domain, maybe. Oh, just a minute. I'll be in a second, okay? Is that all right? Okay. No, I'm doing something. I'm doing a comedy gag. Okay. Now, it's my son, Okay, so what the hell was I talking about? No. I was making something up. Okay, I've said something bad in the public domain. Oh, let's say I've just been interviewed on the radio and I've let something slip, something like, we are the master race, and I just read, Mein Kampf the other night and it was great. Oh, oops. So here's what I do. I get onto social media. I open an account and I say something that's a little bit less, I actually say, I think it's shocking that people judge me on just one comment. You put up a post like that, and then you sit back and you wait. This post, that comment I said on the radio last night does not define me. And then you wait, and eventually the abuse will start, or immediately. And what you do, you start screenshotting the worst of it. Because the worst of it is not indicative of public, average public values. But what you do is, there are unhinged people out there, and they will use this as an excuse to completely go for you. So what you do is you screenshot that stuff, the juicy stuff. And there'll be something like, you are a spawn of Satan, if I knew your mother, I'd kill her too, why don't you go into your shed and kill yourself? Here are some detailed instructions on how to use a razor blade on your wrists. Go and murder yourself, do us all a favour. You are nothing, blah, 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 kill yourself. No. So you start screenshotting all that stuff, and grinning, and then you sit back and wait. And then, eventually you get challenged in the public domain. And what you do, and someone says, Charlie, you're a damned racist. And then suddenly you just let rip with all these screenshots that you've got, and you make it look like that stuff is indicative of the sort of stuff you have to put up with. You are attacking me. I've been told to kill myself. I get bullied, you don't know what it's like being me. Let me just give you a few screenshots because I've been collecting this stuff. This is the sort of stuff I put up with. This is not acceptable. How dare you attack me when I'm getting this sort of stuff? Bingo. You've handled fame. You're in front. And what you do is you jut your jaw out. Now, the same goes, like that rapper I was talking about before. He happens to be. He lets something slip. I'm not sure about the rappers. Apparently that community is not so good when it comes to LGBTQIA+. They're not bad at rocking up to Black Lives Matter protests, but I've heard they're not so good on the other front. They're not very rock and roll. So one of those guys might let something slip. Chapter such and such in the Bible. What is that chapter? Leviticus or something. Leviticus 6/13 6:13 says, you should throw yourself into a river. I hate gay people, it's unnatural bastard thing, you know, whatever. Yeah, you say something like that, and then you're in trouble, you see. So you do the same thing. Get yourself a Twitter account and say something on Twitter and say, you know, I think it's really bad that people, you know, misinterpreted me on those comments, that I should, you know, that gay people should throw themselves into a river, you know, blah, blah. You know, you say something, it doesn't really matter what, and you sit there and wait. And, you know, sure enough, soon enough, in comes the hatred, you know, what they call the hate now, you know, but it's hatred. People aren't so good on their grammar anymore. And you sit there and wait. And I have been too long, haven't I? And you know what I'm getting at. I've got to get in and do something. And you screenshot the best bits. You know, maybe there's even, you don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe there's even a couple of posts where someone's, you know, said something extremely racist against you. Maybe there's a picture of a chimpanzee there that you could get up there, you know. Screenshot the lot, wait till someone challenges you, and then say, how dare you, you know, attack me on this, my LGBTQIA failings, you know, my little failings, you know. All right, so I'm not perfect, but, you know, I tell you what, I get a hell of a lot worse. Have a look at this. And then you put it all up. Home and hosed. End of episode. This is your next tip from Charlie on how to handle fame.